So, hello, good evening, everybody. Massive shout out to everybody listening on the Acts on This TV audio experience. Those who are watching live, if you ever miss one of these, by the way, and you just want to go and listen to the audio whilst you are out and about, get yourself over to iTunes and just search for Acts on This TV, all one word. Subscribe to the Acts on This TV audio experience, and I post all the audio from these Periscopes and these Facebook Live broadcasts that I do over on iTunes and on Stitcher.com as well. If you don't want to use iTunes, you've got an Android device, go to Stitcher.com. Again, search for Acts on This TV. You'll find it. Subscribe. About 4,000 downloads a week it's getting at the moment, so there's a lot of people out there listening who don't join us live, but shout out to all of you people who are listening, and if you can join us live next time, join us live, and those join us live now, if you miss one, go catch up. Bobby says, hope today was good for you. Love you, Ross. Love you too, Bobby. Love everyone on here. Today was awesome, man. Like, I've had a really good week so far. I was just saying to people before I started this off properly, I recorded a brand new episode of Watch Ross, my weekly vlog, yesterday. Literally hilarious. Those who've been watching so far will have seen, well, it's basically a behind-the-scenes look of my acting career, my voiceover career, all my online businesses. I'm launching a clothing label at the moment, which is a bit mental. And then also the cameraman who films it all, Petch. We just challenge Petch to do crazy things that generally involve him down in some kind of weird drink and doing a dance. I don't know where it even came from. It all started with an Irish coffee that he downed and then did an Irish jig. It's sort of spawned from there. He did something insane right in the middle of Media City last night. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but watch the vlog on Monday. You will see it. Also want to highlight to people as well. Let me put this up here. Remember, I want to pay somebody's 2018 Spotlight subscription, okay? Spotlight subscriptions are coming up again, like literally right now. I got my notification email say it's up in the end of this month, yesterday. I want to pay for somebody on his Spotlight subscription if you're an actor. If you're not an actor, I'm going to buy you a really cool gadget. I don't know what that is yet, but it was something, very, very cool. To enter the competition, because I'm going to do this just for one person, all you need to do is go to YouTube and actually subscribe to the Watch Ross YouTube channel. And right now, to find that, all you got to do is type the hashtag Watch Ross, all one word. Go over to YouTube, subscribe, and then leave a comment under the videos. You can leave as many comments as you want. Leave a comment under every episode. I'm going to draw one comment at random at Christmas time, just at the end of this year, and I'm going to pay for your Spotlight subscription. If you've already paid for it by then, I'm just going to reimburse you whatever it cost you. Just send me the receipt, and I'll just wire the cash into your bank. If you're not an actor, I'm going to buy you something very, very cool. So do check that out. Spread the word, and just watch the vlog. I just think it's great. I'm enjoying doing it. I would say it's great because I'm completely biased, but the feedback is very positive so far. So tonight, what we're looking at is the book club. It's Wednesday night, okay? We've been looking for the last 3 weeks at Lewis Howe's brand new book. This only came out on the 31st of October. You'll recognise him from the School of Greatness podcast. If you ever listen to the School of Greatness podcast, it is a brilliant podcast all about success. Good evening, John Fisk. He's in the house on Facebook as well. And this is his follow-up book to the School of Greatness book that he did. It's called The Mask of Masculinity. Ladies, do not be put off. You're going to learn a lot about men and about yourselves as well in this book as well. And I think it's really applicable for actors because it's about the masks that we wear when we're not acting. And I say this every week, but, we're often paid to wear a mask as actors. We're paid to take on a character, take on someone else's traits, take on someone else's physicality. All right, Fanny, good evening. And that's our job. But then we're very unaware sometimes of the masks that we wear when we're not acting. And I promise you, everyone here has worn multiple masks this week. And Lewis speaks about 9 masks, but particularly men wear. We've looked at 2 so far that I think are more applicable to like everybody, men and women. One was the Joker mask, the person who's always joking to deflect any kind of vulnerability from them. They're the first person to take the mick out of themselves before anybody else can do that, because that's a protective kind of shield that they wear throughout life. And we looked at actually the benefits of taking that off and just being vulnerable sometimes. Last week we looked at a really interesting mask called the material mask, which you will see people wear all over social media. And you will have seen it today if you've been on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere like that. You'll have seen people posting selfies, showing how amazing their life is, and behind the scenes, it's not like that at all. I went to a friend's birthday party. This was a classic example of this 2 weeks ago. And I was in a bar. To be honest with you, I hated it. It was not my scene at all. It was very loud, very dark. My eyes don't work very well in the dark, for those who know me, and know all about my eyes, but they don't work that well in the dark. I didn't really want to be in there. And I don't think many people did, but they were just like, oh, this is cool, so we have to pretend we're having a good time. And I saw one guy leant against a pillar in the middle of the club, looking miserable as sin. Like, seriously, Andy, good evening. Really miserable. And then what he did is he pulled his phone out, and I saw him open up Snapchat, put it in front of his face, started smiling and like dancing around as if he was having the time of his life, posted it, and went back to leaning on that pole looking miserable as sin. Seriously. And I was like, this is the material Mask in play there. He's like, hey guys, look how cool I am and how I'm having a great time in this club and oh, I'm so down with it. Really, the guy just wanted to go home. He was just bullshitting himself and everybody else who follows him on social media. That was a really interesting one we looked at last week. Now tonight, we're looking at something that I think applies to both men and women as well. And it's something that Lewis terms the know-it-all mask, but it's not what you think. When I started reading this chapter, I thought I kind of knew what he meant by the know-it-all mask, but I didn't. It's a very, very different kind of concept that he puts on here, and I think it really applies to actors, particularly in auditions. And you know what? It just applies to all of us in life. Gary Thomas is here. Sounds like me, but on Instagram. He said, oh no, what are you doing, Gary? You sound like Gary on Instagram. I've never seen you pulling out your phone in a club on Instagram, Gary, but yeah, this is what people do, innit? You know, social media really skews kind of our views of the world, and like, you know, we think everyone else is out there having an amazing time, and we're the only ones who are like struggling with stuff, and that's just utter bullshit. It's like, it's a real highlight, well, it's a highlight reel, isn't it, social media? It just is. And that's why on the vlog, I'm trying to be kind of vulnerable and open and showing people just like everything about my life. And you've seen stuff on the vlog for me go wrong. You saw me try to get a guest on Acts on this last week and it just go horrifically wrong. Couldn't get anybody, no one was answering their phones. Try to show you both the good and the bad on that vlog. Nick's here as well. Nick Weimer, good evening, mate. So let's have a look. We're going to start at the beginning of this chapter. This is the last week we're going to be doing Lewis's book. So Nick, if you just join us, look at The Mask of Masculinity by Lewis Howes. It's not all just about men, though. Like I say, women on here are going to get this as well. But this is a mask that we all wear. I've worn this plenty of times, really have, in and out of acting auditions, in and out of my personal life. I recognise myself in this, definitely. It starts off with a quote, and it says, "It's what you learn after you know it all that counts." It's what you learn after you know it all that counts. And it starts off, he says, Mike Rowe is a modern Renaissance man. Most people know him as the host of the show Dirty Jobs. Now, this is an American show we don't have in the UK, but bear with me, okay? It says, in this show, he takes on all kinds of disgusting and messy manual labour jobs across America. Here's how the show opens. So it opens with the narrator saying this, guys. It says, "My name's Nick Rowe, and this is my job. I explore the country looking for people who aren't afraid to get dirty, hard-working men and women who earn an honest living, doing the kinds of jobs that make civilised life possible for the rest of us. Now get ready to get dirty." And he says Mike doesn't mess around here. He's worked on farms, crawled in sewers. He's done everything that most of us would never want to do, even once, let alone professionally as our jobs. And though most people know him for his willingness to get dirty, what they don't know is that Mike is among the most interesting and broad-minded people around. He's been an opera singer. Wouldn't expect that from someone like that, would you? He's been a pitchman. He is an Eagle Scout. He sang in saloons. He's worked on trade policy issues and testified before the United States Senate. This is a guy who is rich, not only in knowledge, but in wisdom. So when I invited him to appear on my podcast, because Lewis has the School of Greatness podcast, my lead-off question was the one that I'd been dying to ask him. What's the one skill every human being should focus on and have? His answer surprised me. I figure he might say something like, well, learn to work with your hands, or figure out how to persist, or maybe you tell me your secret strategy for building a huge brand. No. His answer was about humility. 2 ears, 1 mouth. And this is why I think this applies to actors a lot. 2 ears, 1 mouth. We could all learn so much from that, okay? Particularly in auditions, on stage, off screen, off screen. Acting, it's all about reacting, isn't it? And you're such a better actor when you learn to listen properly to the lines that are being given to you, not just waiting for your cues, okay? I looked at Mike a little confused, Lewis says. In proportion, he continued, if everybody listened twice as much as they spoke, I just have to think it'd be a lot less noisy. And if you knew that you only got to say half of what you would normally say, you'd probably be a bit more circumspect about what comes out of your head. That's just math. 2 ears, 1 mouth. So when in doubt, shut up. Dang, he says, here's a guy who acquires more life experience in 1 year than most of us do in 10. A guy whose speaking fee is north of 6 figures, so he gets more than 100 grand to speak at an event. And who hosted one of the most popular cable television shows around, and the skill he is most passionate about is listening. When I thought about it, it made perfect sense. On my podcast, and you'll have heard me, go back and listen to some of the podcasts I've done on actsonthis.tv, and you'll have heard me get a lot better at interviewing people for this very reason, that I started to learn to listen. Some of my worst interviews and acts on this, and I don't think any of them are terrible, but when I first started off interviewing casting directors and actors and writers and producers, there's a bit of nervousness there from me because they were people who were really, successful in this industry. And I would want to fill every silence possible, and I'd want to overtalk. And I realized after a few of those podcasts, I'm like, you know what? My listeners aren't learning as much as they could be because I just need to shut up and let the person with the wisdom speak. But because of, kind of a bit of nervousness and wanting to fill dead space, a bit like when you get in the car with a taxi driver and, it's another place where I just have to speak. But I noticed that my interview technique it's so much better nowadays. But back in the day, I just wanted to, to fill all that dead air. So Lewis said the same thing. He says here, if I'm talking while I'm interviewing accomplished figures in sports, media, business, medicine, fitness, you name it, because he interviews everybody, then I am, by definition, not learning anything because the person across from me with all the knowledge isn't speaking. When I shut up and let my podcast guests do the talking, only then are they able to share their wisdom and teach me things I didn't know. So again, listening, massively important. Kim says, true. Yet if someone posts how crappy things are going, they get accused of attention seeking. Oh, on social media, there's a medium, isn't there, Kim? I think you can go either way. You can either put your highlight reel on in terms of make everything look so good on social media, or you can basically really, really dramatize a situation. And then that's when you get the shit. I don't think people get the shit on social media when they literally put a plea for help out in a very honest way. I don't think they get that. The only time they get the shit for attention seeking is when they post on Facebook, oh God, not again. Could my life get any worse? And they don't put any context down on what's just happened to them. That's when they get the shit. And they deserve the shit for that because that is just pure attention seeking. If people put on, oh my goodness, my car's broke down this morning, can't get my kids to nursery, whatever, gonna be late for work, feeling terrible. That's when like genuine people will reach out and go, don't worry, we'll help you. Because they're actually putting some context to the madness that's going on there. The attention seekers are the ones who literally, just put no context and just put, what is it? FML, F my life. I mean, come on, let's not go there. Let's not do that. So yeah, I think it can be dangerous either way, Kim. I digress. Back to this though, yeah. So talking about listening. Have you ever noticed how people tend to fill the dead time in a conversation or meeting by rambling on about random topics? Me sitting in an audition on the other side of the audition, not as the person auditioning, but as I often read in as a reader in auditions so that the actors who are coming into audition can have someone to act against. I see this all the time. They just want to ramble on to fill dead space, and I've been guilty of this myself so many times earlier on in my career. Have you ever watched someone you work with try to impress the people around them by going on a long rant about something you can't even pronounce because they just want to come across as knowledgeable or whatever? Have you ever seen someone in an important setting suck the air out of the room by making it all about them? Sure we have. They always have a response. They can't let anything go, and they have to show you how smart they are. It's obnoxious, isn't it? Worse, no honest guy can critique that tendency in other people without also having to look in the mirror and admit how often they've been guilty of it themselves. I definitely have. I put my hand up to that 100%. I cringe when I think of those moments in my own life. I can barely stomach thinking of the opportunities I've blown or the fool I might have made of myself. I think, what if I just stayed quiet? What if I wasn't so insecure or didn't feel the need to prove I had something to say? How different could things have been? Actors fall for that all the time when they're asked about a script. Apologies if I'm ignoring people here on Twitter and Periscope and just trying to hold the book and see everything at the same time. I've seen people be asked about a script from a director and a producer, and they have to come up. The actor feels they've got to come up with something clever about the script, and sometimes they come up with something that's really not right. And it just makes them look like they've not understood the script. But I know what they've done on the train on the way in or the car on the way in. They'll have been thinking, right, they're going to ask me about the script and what I think of it, and I've got to come across as like really knowledgeable, or I've got some really cool idea about it. And I've seen people come in and actually give a writer notes on their own script when they're the actor auditioning for it. Don't ever do that. Don't ever, someone will go, oh yeah, no, I think, well, at this point, yeah, my character's this, and at this point, I think it might be a bit better though if he went like. You're like, right, wait a minute, this is a script the BBC have commissioned, it's already going into production, just shut up, you're here to audition for it, not rewrite the script. People will absolutely lose jobs because of that, because they have to put on this know-it-all mask to come across as like, somebody cool, and they're not probably even like that in real life, it's just overcompensating. So he says, I call this tendency the need to fill the void with the sound of your own voice. I call it the know-it-all mask. Look, I get it. It doesn't feel good to look stupid in front of other people. I know, because I felt that way nearly my entire life. It feels much better to have all the answers to all the questions, and to have a line for every moment and a joke for every awkward situation. Here's what's going through their heads, either consciously or unconsciously, of the men who live behind this mask. And they're saying to themselves things like, if I say something, anything smart at this meeting, people will think I'm smart. If they think I'm smart, they'll like me. Then I'll feel like I'm a real man. So you go into a meeting, and instead of listening to people, you play your scripts over and over in your head. You get yourself psyched up, and then you start talking. Maybe you did well, maybe you didn't, but I can tell you what you didn't do. You didn't absorb one thing from what the other people said. And if you've ever been in a meeting or a social situation with a group of strangers, and 5 minutes after you leave, you can't remember anyone's name, that's because your script drowned out their information. And when I read that, I thought, crikey, I've so been guilty of that. Honestly, I have. Literally, it's been a bit of a theme in my life where I'm like, I'm just rubbish with names. And it's not. It's probably because I just talk too much. And I know it's something I probably need to develop. Chris Stone, good evening. Probably just need to get better at listening to people in situations, because I'm so used to talking, and I'm used to answering questions, and people will email me and ask stuff. I think sometimes, I just play that role everywhere I go. I know, even like dates, literally I've said to the girl, please just tell me to shut up if I'm talking too much. I have actually said that, honestly. They've been very polite and said what I'm talking about is interesting, but I don't know. Chris says, do you know what the secret is if a director asks you what they think of the script? Talk about how it makes you feel. Feelings are personal, because Chris is a top director, guys. So Chris likes people talking about the way it makes you feel. Feelings are personal and subjective. You can't be wrong. Good little secret tip there, Chris. Yeah, don't give notes on their script. Just talk about how the script makes you feel, because that's subjective. You can't be wrong. Chris Stone, stay on the broadcast. You've obviously got some ninja advice to give out. So he says, look, here's the thing, right? If we're being honest with ourselves, then we'd admit that none of us know anything, okay? Because this is the know-it-all mask. Is like, we know it all, so we've got to just say everything and tell everyone all the answers. And this is what I spoke about a lot on these Facebook broadcasts and Periscope broadcasts about a year ago. Paulo Coelho said this in his book. He said, where's this guy? So I think Coelho would even... Oh, what have I got here? Wait a minute, I've lost it here. Here you go. He said, that's what the world is like. People talk as if they know everything, but if you dare to ask a question, they don't know anything. People talk as if they know everything, but if you dare to ask a question, they don't know anything. He says, here's the thing, if we're being honest with ourselves, then we'd admit that none of us know anything, okay? I think Coelho would even agree that nobody really knows what the hell they're doing. We're all just making it up as we go along. And I said last year on many of these broadcasts that I'd had a bit of a breakthrough in my own life, because I'd come to terms with the fact that I do not have it all figured out. And it's absolutely fine to not have it all figured out. People just this week have asked me what the big plan is for literally my goals in life. And I'm like, man, I have absolutely no idea. Like, oh, but you're doing this new vlog and you're doing this documentary and you've got this and that, and where do you want to go with it all? Act on this, that as a platform. How do you want to grow it? Honest to God, guys, I have no idea. I'm playing it day by day, week by week. And, and the opportunities come up on a weekly basis. I take them and it just takes me down this road. And then that might come to a dead end. And I turn around, I come back here and I go down a different avenue. And that's just the way that my life has been. And I don't really see it changing. It's like, that's what's exciting about life. Because if I honestly thought I knew what my goal was and where basically what I'd be doing in 50 years, it's pretty boring, isn't it? Go, God, Ross at 35 knew that at 85 he would be doing exactly this. I'm like, well, don't know. I mean, honestly, my idea of what I'd be doing at 35 when I was 18 was not what I'm doing at 35. I knew everything when I was a teenager, said Andy. I think I now suffer with severe memory loss. We all think, don't we, as teenagers, we know everything. And then we think at 18 we know everything. Then we think at 24 we know everything. And it wasn't really until I kind of hit 28, 30 that I started to really kind of understand myself and had self-awareness. And I think I'm better at that at 35, and I'm probably hopefully going to be better at that at 45. But we are all, and it's absolutely fine, in our professional lives as actors. Chris as a director, Gary as a writer, anyone else on here who's just whatever you are, or anyone listening on the audio experience, whatever you are, whatever profession you got into, we're all just blagging it, aren't we? Everyone's winging it. You know, I've worked with like big producers and stuff, and when I've like been helping them out behind the scenes, they've turned to me and gone, "God, Ross, like I have no idea what's going on today." And these are people who'd be like, "What? You don't know what you're doing?" Like, it's amazing when you hear that out of someone's mouth that you're like, this guy's totally switched on and knows exactly what's going on. No one does. Literally nobody does. But we all wear this mask that we do know it all. And what that stops us doing, which is like a massive, massive downfall, is it stops us asking questions. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but we'll just read on here. But I think that's one of the main kind of symptoms of this mask, is that you just pretend you know shit. Who's been in an audition and they've said, "Oh, I've said this before, haven't I? Oh, this scene's a bit like such and such a body in this film." And rather than say, "I'm really sorry, I haven't seen that film and I have no idea what you're talking about," because I've been guilty of this, I have done this, right? So I'm throwing it out there. You might recognise yourself in this. I say, "Oh yeah, no, oh yeah, no, of course," and then I'll go and act that scene with absolutely zero reference to what they've actually said it should be like, and I just hope that that's what they have in mind. I've definitely done that, 100%. I'm not going to read all of this next bit. I'm just going to paraphrase this. He goes on to talk about something that Shell did. Now, in the world of oil, right, it's kind of like a very masculine industry, and there was a lot of know-it-alls on oil rigs. Lewis said there was a documentary on this. And what Shell did is when they took oil rigs from being on land into the sea, it was real, like, it was both metaphorically and figuratively speaking, like uncharted water, uncharted territory. No one had ever gone and drilled for oil right out at sea, early 1990s. And what Shell did is they were like, right, actually, because our culture within this organization is so masculine and so know-it-all, and like, you know, people get on with it, there's no emotions, men are men, go out and be hard on oil rigs. We're going to have to actually put like a training thing in here to actually teach people to be vulnerable and take that know-it-all mask off, because they're going to be using new equipment they've never used before. They're going to be out in territory they've never been before. And the last thing we need people doing is going, "Yeah, I know what to do," and not actually knowing what to do and really screwing up a $1.5 billion oil rig. And they put this training course effectively into practice throughout the entire corporation of Shell, that was to teach everybody that it's fine to be vulnerable and it's fine to ask questions. And it worked like an absolute charm. And it says here, like, you know, that this was a quote. It says, you know, big culture back then. It was not for sissies. There were unwritten rules of macho. Everyone understood and enforced. Like, don't question authority. If you make a mistake, hide it. If you don't know something, pretend that you do. Never appear weak. If for some godforsaken reason you feel an emotion rising, swallow hard and bury it. One of the guys on the oil rig talks about the time where his dad first sent him, because his dad was an engineer as well, first sent him for a Phillips head screwdriver. Give me some hearts if you know what a Phillips head screwdriver is. Even I do, and I'm not a technical guy. But if you're not, you don't know the difference between a Phillips head screwdriver and a regular screwdriver, it's fine, be vulnerable and go, "What's that?" Okay, and this guy says, "Look, the first time I heard the words Phillips head screwdriver, my dad, Rick, he said, go get me a Phillips head screwdriver out the shop." And I didn't even think to say, "Hey, Dad, you know, I've never heard that before. I don't know what you're talking about." So I went to the shop to look for something. I had no idea what it was and felt stuck because I didn't want to be vulnerable. And this is just the issue we all have. No one wants to be flipping vulnerable and go, "I don't know what that is." I've been in casting director workshops where a casting director has been giving people notes on their performance, and I can just tell from the look in their eyes they have no idea what they are being asked, and yet they still nod their head, go, yeah, no, I get it, yeah, I completely get it. And then they do the same performance I just did a minute ago, almost identical, no direction, no change, nothing. It's just, because they don't want to be vulnerable. I'm missing a few people joining on Twitter and Periscope here, but apologies. Good evening, whoever it was just said hi, hello. So Lewis goes on about his experience of this mask, right? He says, "My experience with the know-it-all mask was nowhere near as dangerous or as scary as with the oil stuff, but it was just as threatening professionally. When I set out to write my first book on greatness, great book called The School of Greatness, got it on the bookshelf behind me." He says, "When I first set out to write that book, I figured it'd be easy. I'd achieved a lot of all my athletic goals. I had transitioned into building what most would call a successful business that brought in millions of dollars. I had a huge platform and lots of people who followed my work. Clearly, I had a lot to say about the topic, and I thought I had to teach as well. Yet I struggled. The proposal ended up taking years. The writing didn't come easily to me at all. I couldn't get the tone right, and then I realised what was blocking me. I was pretending to be way more smarter than I was. I was being egotistical. Who was I to lecture upon greatness? That's when I made my pivot on the book. I decided the book should be about the journey to greatness. Although I knew quite a bit, instead of focusing on what I did know, I would focus on what I still needed to learn. I would be a student. I would ask questions. I would be, as Mike said at the start of this book, 2 ears and 1 mouth. I knew there were people out there who knew a lot more about greatness than I did, and so I went on searching for them, asking questions along the way about how they got to where they are and what made them tick. The School of Greatness had questions at its foundation, not answers. I was there with the listener as a fellow traveller, learning just as much as they did in the process of putting this community together. That's what I've tried to do with That's on This. I would never, ever, ever profess to anybody on here that I was some particular great actor, that I could teach you how to act. So I've never, ever decided I would ever do acting classes. Who the hell am I to tell people how to act, I mean, my career's all right, pretty good. Still got so far to go with where I actually want to get in the acting industry and what I want to achieve. So I was like, actsonthis.tv for me was if I can bring on massively successful guests, fantastic actors, casting directors, writers, producers, agents, and then sit with them and listen to them. I would learn from them in those interviews, and then all you guys can go on the website, listen to those podcasts, listen to those live broadcasts that I've done, watch the video interviews that I've shot, and I would be coming on that journey with you guys. It pisses me off when actors who have not had incredible success. Tom Hanks wants to set up an acting school. I would go, right? But when just what I think, egotistical know-it-alls who have had no or barely any success decide they're going to set up an acting school and promise people success that they haven't had themselves, and I know of quite a few, it does my head in, because I'm like, you are just looking to make money out of actors who are desperate, to have some success that they haven't had yet. And I see it all the time, and then they diverse into doing other things, not just classes, but they then go into other things, and they want to make this for people and that for people and reels and all this kind of stuff, and they're basically just going, ching, ching, I'm shit at my acting career, so I'm going to subsidise it by ripping off loads of other actors to make my money. And that's what they do, and I just think that's so disingenuous, and it's also just poor form. It's like, if I'm not making enough money in my acting and voiceover careers, which thankfully I am, I can afford to do this and give you all my time, literally for nothing, guys. I charge people 10 quid a month on Acts on This for the premium stuff, but it all goes to charity anyway. If the day comes where I can't afford to do that, I feel I'm a fraud anyway. How can I possibly be putting myself in a situation where I'm like, able to give advice on success in this industry if I'm not having it myself? And yet I see people doing this all the time. And it isn't my battle, but I just, so tempted so many times to just call them out on this bullshit. But just be aware, because it is happening. Paddy's here. All right, Paddy. So the book goes on and goes, there's another secret here too, right? Know-it-alls are almost always the people who fail to persuade, even though it appears that persuasion is all they seek. And he says Cheryl Strayed, I don't know who that is a writer and wise. Is a writer and wise. She's an experienced soul who has a popular advice column called Dear Sugar. She's been through everything. Addiction, heartbreak, crushing defeat, and then some. Perhaps a bit unexpectedly, though, she's become a successful book writer. And that I think of a book that I think every person on the planet should read. Here's how she summed up the problem with know-it-alls. My concept of an advice giver had been a therapist or a know-it-all. So that's her concept of an advice giver. Previously, it had been like these people who think they know it all. And then I realised nobody listens to the know-it-alls. All right, if you turn to the people you end up, not turning to the know-it-alls when you want help. You turn to the people who have been in the thick of it or messed up, right? And he says, I know someone who's been in the thick of it who has messed up a lot. His name is Jason Altua. And he's the kind of person who has earned the right to say he knows some things. Just consider his life, right? This guy's built up companies worth millions of dollars, and then he's lost all that money. He's been recognized as one of the liveliest writers out there on self-improvement and self-development, and he's been through divorces, depressions, and personal issues, big and small. He's written best-selling books that sell hundreds of thousands of copies. He's also has what seems like an idea a minute, okay, so blogs once a day, and he's inspired millions of people to kickstart their lives, and yet his secret superpower would seem to be his willingness to admit that he knows nothing. It's his openness about the failures in his life that has drawn people to him, and these have been huge failures. And that's what make people, hang off this every guy's word, because he's not come to the party and gone, I know everything, I'm perfect, I've got this mask on where everything's great, come to me and I will make sure you're an incredible actor and you have all this success that I haven't had. This guy's like, look, I've screwed up. He actually, if you go into the story there, he actually sold the company for $15 million and he lost every single penny of it, going out, drinking, gambling, investing in businesses that just went under. And then he built it back up. But he learned so much from all of that people trust him now because he's actually been through it all. He ain't the know-it-all. He's like, listen, I completely screwed up and this is what I've learned from it. And I think if anyone on here is trying to set up any kind of platform for themselves on social media, just in life, if you go into anything professing to be the guru, the know-it-all, this perfect thing, you're going to lose because people just don't, they kind of feel like they just don't want to reach out to you, or they can't trust you with stuff, or, you're just this perfect person who wouldn't get them because they're not. Vulnerability is absolutely critical. But as Kim said on here before on Facebook, there's a difference between vulnerability and attention-seeking bullshit. Vulnerability is literally saying how you feel without dressing it up for more than it is. Being an attention-seeking bullshitter are those people who put on Facebook, F my life, oh my God, could it get any worse? And then give no other context for it. So everyone clamours into the comments, all right, babe, how are you? I'll inbox you, hang in there, all this sort of bullshit. No, if you're feeling really terrible, at least tell us why you're feeling really terrible in a non-attention-seeking way. And people will help you because that's the human condition. It's what we want to do. So there's a difference between vulnerability and just bullshit, nonsense. Don't be one of those people because you won't actually end up getting the attention that you wanted in the first place anyway. So he says, what can we take away from this guy's story? So a story of this guy who basically made $15 million and then went completely bankrupt. So what can we take away from this? And that's that there's virtue in the kind of authentic humility that James shows. Admitting you don't know things isn't weakness. It isn't weakness. It's strength, and it strengthens you because it opens you to information and experience that when you combine them become wisdom. Okay, it strengthens you because it opens you up to information and experience. Information plus experience equals wisdom. So be vulnerable, but not an attention seeker. Successful people realize how little they know. Lewis says, know-it-alls aren't just annoying because of the way they walk around making everyone else around them feel stupid. They're also fools. They're the kind of people who reject new learning for fear of seeming like they didn't know anything in the first place. I think it's very true. Definitely I've recognized myself in that a little bit, 100% sometimes. I'm like, I can definitely be guilty even today of going, oh, I know all about that. And then someone proves me wrong. I'll be like, oh yeah, no, yeah, I kind of remember that. I'm like, God, I just needed to say, actually, no, I didn't know about that in the first place. But yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I like being proven wrong factually. If I'm proven wrong factually, I love holding my hands up and going, oh my God, you're completely right. It's when it's subjective, when it's opinion based that I don't like being wrong. Even when I know deep down, I'm like, oh God, actually, you know what? On reflection, I probably am wrong. Still hard to admit. So what can we do right now about the know-it-all mask? If there's anyone in here who's like, right, I kind of feel like I wear this mask quite a bit, or I've been in auditions that I've taught myself out of that job because I've overtalked, so I've wanted to prove myself as a bit of a know-it-all about the script, and I really shouldn't have said that, I've screwed up, or, a casting director's given me notes on my performance and I didn't take them well because I just thought I knew better. I'm sure people can relate to this. What can we do about it? So he says, someone whose self-worth comes from his intellectual expertise, who cannot admit when he's wrong or when he doesn't know something, ultimately pays a heavy price in his relationships. So someone whose self-worth comes from his intellectual expertise, who cannot admit when he's wrong or when he doesn't know something, ultimately pays a heavy price in his relationships. True learning and connections become increasingly difficult as the know-it-all mask sinks deeper into their skin, because all it does is create separation. So what's available when we take this mask off? If we take this know-it-all mask off and get vulnerable, not attention seekers, remember, we get vulnerable, what can we get? So Louis says, remember, know-it-all man, you are a gift, and there's so much to celebrate about you. The people who care about you the most have been waiting to see what's behind your mask. Andy says, if anyone wants to know how to remove the know-it-all mask, inbox me. Is that because you're looking for attention there, Andy? Was that? Don't know what that was. These are some of the things that can flood back into your life when you drop this mask, guys, right? People want to be around you. No one wants to be around the know-it-all losers. They just don't. Freedom to not know is so liberating. That's what I said last year when I basically went, look, I've come to terms with the fact that it's fine to not have it all figured out, because I just don't have it all figured out. Like, genuinely. Some areas of my life I don't have anything figured out in. I'm literally blagging it. Professional life, I've kind of got it figured out. A lot of my personal life, really have nothing figured out at all. So we get an ability to learn and grow as well when we can be open to learning. Wisdom from others. I learn so much from the OAPs in the gym in the morning from me. Like, seriously, I work out with exclusively over 60s. There's like no one else in the gym when I go at that time of the morning who's up. I don't know what it is with old people. They just seem to get up at like 4 a.m. or something. They're all 60 plus. Some are in their 80s. Sean, bless him, had 2 strokes a couple of weeks ago. Didn't hold him back. He's back in the gym this week after 2 strokes and half of his body being paralysed. The man's back. Sam's here. All right, Sam. So we get to take wisdom on board from other people. You know, I'm totally open to that because I don't think I know it all. Deeper intimacy. So that'll be the same with your partner. You know, maybe you are the guy who always thinks your wife's wrong or your girlfriend's wrong, or you're the girl who always thinks your husband's wrong or your boyfriend's wrong. I see that in couples all the time. It's like a dynamic where one thinks they're smarter than the other. Oh, and the other one almost ends up playing that role and feels afraid to pipe up and go, excuse me, sorry for being so dumb, but I think it might be that. But they don't want to even say that sometimes, you know. So you'll have a deeper intimacy if you're open to learning wisdom from your partner. Support from other people, because if you're vulnerable, like I said before, not attention seeking on Facebook with F my life, could it get any worse? You're actually putting a post out that's saying what is wrong, looking for support, that's different. You'll get support from other people. So for the men on here, there's advice here for men and then an advice section for women. So for men, this is the advice Lewis would give you on taking off the know-it-all mask. And like this applies to just everyone on here in an acting scenario, whether you're a man or a woman as well. I think this is just something in auditions everyone should abide by. I missed those comments. Who's that as well as saying, hey, I can't, what's the username there? I missed it. But if I know you, tell me your first name rather than usernames, and then at least I can welcome you properly. So he says, listen, practice listening. Be flexible in your point of view. Be open to new thoughts, ideas, and strategies. Try to absorb and understand new ideas, even if you don't agree with them. I think if people in the world today would take that on board, particularly where religion is concerned, we just have far fewer people fighting about nonsense. Try to absorb and understand new ideas, even if you don't agree with them. The one constant in the world is change, guys, all right? And if you stay stuck in your point of view, you will limit yourself and your growth. Empty your cup, as the Buddhists would say. Have a beginner's mind. It will help you relate to people and connect to them as a result. Doing this will bring more joy into your life than any amount of knowledge. And as Einstein famously said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is more important than knowledge. People who hide behind the know-it-all mask often seem to be hiding from the idea that they might have a limited imagination. People who hide behind the know-it-all mask often seem to be hiding from the idea that they might have a limited imagination. What happened to the app that captured all the comments, says Andy? It wasn't very good, Andy. It worked for a bit, but then I'm looking into, there's some more stuff coming out with a platform I use called Restream, where I might be able to actually not just capture all the comments, but bring them in from every platform into one window, so I can at least read them all. I'm tempted to quote an S Club 7 song now, says Bobby. Which one's that, Bobby? Women, this is the advice for women, all right? The next time he shows his know-it-all mask, this is for any men in your life, you know, I think it applies to both sexes though, but the next time someone shows their know-it-all mask, be patient. When a man you care about mansplains to you, rather than explaining, but mansplaining, when they mansplain to you, listen to him all the way through. Then instead of responding to his arguments on their merits, share how it feels to be around someone who acts like an omniscient god, who must always be right. Make him understand what you are hearing with your two ears, while he is busy running off with his one mouth. Remind him what's important to your relationship and that it's better to be kind than to be right all the time. That's a good quote, isn't it? It's better to be kind than to be right all the time. Let him know that you won't love or care about him less if he doesn't know something. Also, take time to explain your point of view. He might not have considered things from your perspective. I think that second to last thing there is really important, particularly in a casting environment. Take time to explain your point of view and let you know, and realize that a casting director is not going to love or care about you any less if you ask questions. If you go in and you go, hey, listen, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't understand this line. What do they mean by this? That's another thing I've seen. People try and pronounce things in a script and they get the pronunciation of something completely wrong. Whereas if they just say to the casting director or the writer, I'm sorry, how do you say this? Or what is it? I've had a few scripts where people have, my characters had like a line and they throw a bit of French in there. Or there was a drama that the ITV did called Prey not long ago. Had a lot of German in it. And I actually did German A-level, so I could read German. But there were still a couple of bits I wasn't sure of. Now, rather than going in and just pretending that I already knew, it's so much better to go, listen, I just don't really know what this is supposed to imply or how this is said. Is he sarcastic here or is this meant for real? As opposed to just going, I have to pretend I know it all and then just get it wrong. You know, that's what you're missing out on if you wear the know-it-all mask. So it's interesting, isn't it? The chapter kind of ends there. I paraphrase a few bits of that. But I just thought, you know, it's an interesting concept that I think a lot of us fall foul of at some point in our life. The books talks about we've only looked at 3 masks in this. It talks about another 6 masks that we've not had time to look at. If you're watching on the replay, you'll see a link to Amazon below this video. If you're on YouTube or actonthis.tv right now, click that and you can go and buy the book. It's going to be a New York Times bestseller. I just know it is. It's Lewis's second book. His first was a New York Times bestseller. This is well on the way to being so as well. It's getting a load of publicity and press in the States. If you're watching live right now, just go over to amazon.co.uk and just search for Mask of Masculinity or just search for Lewis Howes. There's his name again, Lewis, Howes. And check it out. Yeah, I think it's about, what was it? It's about 15 quid or something like that. But it's interesting because it applies to acting. Also kind of will help you put those masks on if you need to play a character who thinks he's know-it-all, or a character who's a joker, or a character who's very materialistic. But I just think the whole vulnerability thing is something we can all learn from. British place names are just stupid. Towerster, ridiculous. Is that how you say that? Towster? Toaster? I don't see, I don't know. There was one that there was actually this is dead true. This is dead true. There was a script about Bicester, the place Bicester, and it's spelt Bicester. The amount of people who came in and said Bicester or something like that instead of Bicester was insane. And it's like it is toaster. Says Claire says on Facebook, it is toaster. See, if I didn't ask, I'd have gone Towerster. Something like that, Towster or something like that, but it's toaster, which is also something that you cook bread in. But yeah, it's mental, isn't it? We just need to ask more, take the mask off, be more vulnerable, and realise that no one's going to think any less of you if you just ask questions, ask for support, ask for help, but do it in a classy way. Just do it in a classy way, not in an attention-seeking nonsense way. Because that just has the opposite effect. You will repel people if you do that. And it also doesn't mean being self-deprecating either. I think that's also sometimes unattractive. You don't have to. If you think something's good as well, you can say you think you're good at something. That's another thing people think. Oh, because that's almost a vulnerability, but in a positive way, by going, "Hey guys, I think this is pretty cool. Look at it." People don't want to do that. They want to say, "Hey guys, yeah, well, I'm not sure about this. I think I might be a bit shit at this or that, but here, check it out anyway." When they know they're good at it, so they know all the comments are going to be, "Oh my god, it's not. You're so amazing. You're great." Again, that's just annoying. So it's about being vulnerable on both sides of it. Actually not looking for that attention in a shit way. If you know you're great at something, put it up and, don't preface it with, "I think I'm shit at the..." You hear that sometimes, don't you? People who there was someone I went to school with who, we were out on a night doing karaoke and they were like, "Oh, I'm a terrible singer. I'm really, really rubbish. I'm really, really rubbish." Everyone gives them loads of support going, "Oh, come on, we'll support you, we'll support you." And they get up and like bloody Mariah Carey. And it's like, you're just looking for attention. You're not rubbish. You knew you were amazing. You did grade 8 singing at school or whatever. You're not rubbish. So that's kind of like, that's almost like wear a know-it-all mask, but I don't know, in a slightly different, backwards way. But yeah, it's just interesting. But we all need to be a bit more vulnerable, but in a decent way. Kim says Scottish place names are the best for that. How do you say that one? Avoch? How do you say that, Kim? Avoch. Avoch. Don't know. I'm probably saying that completely wrong, but I wouldn't have a clue. It's because of... Oh, missed that, Fanny. Write that comment again. Just missed what you said there. I was looking at Facebook. Apologies for that. So let me know how you say that name as well, Kim. But yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? I think it's good. For the next book club, don't know exactly what we're going to look at, but the one book that keeps coming up time and time again, and people have emailed me multiple times about this month, last month, and every month going, I still haven't done it, is the book that's... what's it? The something art of not giving an F. The subtle art, is it, of not giving an beep, not swearing on scopes as much as usual, and I've made a conscious effort not to say any swearing really in my vlogs. Just keeping it classy. I'm acting with class. We don't need any of that. I'm beeping it all out. But yeah, I can't remember what it is. I think it was a subtle art. I'm just trying to Google it now. The subtle arts. Yeah, it is. That's definitely what it is. The subtle art of not giving a naughty word. But it's supposed to be very good, ultimately, and I think it's something that that we can all learn from. I think, there's a lot of people on here probably... Just give me some comments if you think that right now you're holding back from doing something and because you're worried about what people think of you. You're like, you know what, I would love to... Maybe you'd love to do a vlog. You say that what? Or with phlegm. Och. Oh, you say avoc as och. Oh, right, as in ochai. It's crazy Scots, Kim. My dad was Scottish. Couldn't understand a bloody word he said, basically. But yeah, is it? Do you think you're holding back from something because you're afraid of what other people will think of you? Maybe it is you want to do your own vlog, or you want to write a song and put it up on Facebook. Maybe you want to write a play. You want to shoot your own short film. You want to create something. Fanny says, I'm worried about attending an Acts on This meeting purely because I'm scared of how people will view me. It's so interesting because you put yourself out on social media all the time. I don't know why you would... What are you afraid of, Fanny? What do you think people are going to do? Hurt you? Because they won't. The Acts on This meetups are just lovely environment. Who has been to an Acts on This meetup? Sam's been. Sam's here. Sam was there on Saturday. Kim's been to one. Who else on here has been to an Acts on This meetup? Tell Fanny how good they are. People will think I'm disgusting and ugly and whisper about me. Well, no one will whisper about you because only ever, the maximum we've ever had there. 2 meetings ago, for some reason, we had a huge influx. We had nearly 40 people. The last one, we probably had 10. Or just weird. But so you're identifying with that, Fanny. So basically, this is what's happening in your head. You're identifying with the fact that people think you're weird and will whisper about you. Thus, what's probably going to happen is you're going to be weird and people will whisper about you. It's weird. It's like a self-fulfilling identity. It's the story you tell yourself inside. If you tell yourself that you are shit with money I promise you, you will always be shit with money. Just is true. If you tell yourself you are big boned, and that's the reason you can't lose weight or get in shape, and you can't even picture yourself in insane physical condition, you will always be in shit condition. Because it's your identity that you are creating and the story that you are living. So if you are telling yourself that you are always going to be like, your idea of whatever weird is and people are going to be talking about you and that kind of thing, you might be doing yourself a massive disservice and actually creating that scenario in your head. If you develop an identity where it's, I am a good person, I always, act with integrity and my intention is always good, and that's what you end up becoming. Perception becomes reality. This is the thing. Perception is reality. Helen says, I was terrified before the first meetup, but everyone is lovely. Everyone's just human. And everyone's after a common goal. Basically, they're awesome meetups because we just sit there, drink coffee, which I love. Eat some cake and talk about acting, which I love. It's great. Kim says, everyone in Acts on This is amazing and will love you, Fanny. John is saying me. What are you saying me to, John? John, come to an Acts on This meetup. First Saturday every month in Manchester, first Saturday every month in London, wherever you're based. We're going to start doing kind of more social stuff next year, and I want to start doing guys. Give me some feedback here. This isn't again right, because this isn't to make money. This is why I want to ask people. I don't need to make money out of anybody, so I'm not doing it for this, but I want to do some Acts on This events where they are panel events, and it's just going to be like 3 people, and it might be a casting director, a very famous writer, and a very established actor. So we're talking like big people, right? Not just local people. And it will be a closed door event because the place that I want to host it at in Media City isn't massive. So there might only be 30 places available. And obviously I just need to I don't want to make any money out of it. I just want to pay for I need to pay for the guests, obviously, for the panel. What would you pay for that? Just if I'm pitching to these guys how much I could pay them. Say there was 30 places and you would get to spend an evening, maybe 2 hours with these people. There would be maybe a 40-minute talk, 40 minutes of Q&A, and there'd be 40 minutes of, schmoozing. You can all talk to each other, and, there might be some light drinks. Andy says £1. Andy, you're not coming now. You're not getting any. If your name's not down, you're definitely not getting in for £1. What's it worth? What's a ticket worth? What? I don't know. 25 quid, 30 quid? I don't know. Literally have no idea, but I want to create some stuff like this next year. But I just don't know. 15 to 25 says Sam. Because it just means that I can I can give more detailed kind of quotes to the people I'll be getting. So I don't have specific names, Fanny, for who it would be, but it would just be an actor, somebody. It would be 3 industry people. So it'd be one would be an actor, another would be a writer or a director. Another one could be an executive producer. It would basically be an actor and then 2 other people from the industry, very established. So it could be a director, somebody like Lewis Arnold, who directs Broadchurch, directs The Clean Break, which is filming at the moment with Sheridan Smith. So we're not talking local people who have just done a little bit. We're talking people at the very top of the tree. Do some in London. 20 is fair, I reckon, says Claire. Because the thing is, that's okay. So that'd give us 20. Say we had 30 places. It's only 600 quid. So that would be 600 quid to pay for the venue and 3 guests for 2 hours. Might be pushing it. I don't know if 25 we could probably do it on. I'll figure something out though. Definitely. One thing it will be is cheaper than. No, there won't be one-to-ones, Fanny. It wouldn't be time to have 30 one-to-ones with people like that. It would be more of what they call a fireside chat. So it'd be a very intimate kind of talk. And then there would be runners with microphones, and you would then be able to stand up and ask a question in the group. You can't sit down with them and ask them all about your career, but you would be able to ask a question. And then, maybe not every single person would get a question if there was 30 of them. We'd have to just play it by ear. Claire says a bigger venue. I just want to keep it intimate though, Claire, and only for people who really I don't want to go, right, I want to fill an arena with all these people. I think if it has a great feeling if there's only 25, 30. It's almost like an inner circle kind of secretive kind of thing, and it means only serious people are going to turn up as well, because there'll be people who really want to go if you limit the places. If I said there's 150 places, people go, don't need to get a ticket now, I'll get one whenever, and just wouldn't do it. You always have to kind of give people a little push by limiting the amount of either the quantity or that kind of stuff. So it's just an idea at the moment. It won't be until next year, but just wanted to get a bit of a thought on that. And if you listen on the replay, tweet me at Ross A. Grant at Acts on This TV, and we'll try and put some of that stuff together. Needs to feel intimate to feel it has value, if you know what I mean. Yeah, definitely, Sam. That's what I want. I don't want it to be sterile and just like, I don't know. Some of these acting workshops that you go to are kind of like this. These masterclasses where you basically sit there for 2 hours, you pay 75 quid, and you get 5 minutes on your feet acting. It's pointless. I'd rather do an actual dedicated event that look, you're not going to act at this, but you're going to learn so much from these people who can really give you game-changing advice and answer the questions that you've always wanted to ask, because you're going to be vulnerable and you're going to go, I don't know about this. Can you please tell me a bit more about that? The only worry is to outprice people who can't afford but will really benefit. It's just, I think, I would say, Claire, anything up to like 40 quid probably. Most people pay 20 quid or 25 quid or 30 quid for like, an hour and a half acting class or something like that with a local teacher who's had no success whatsoever. I think with massive names like this, people would be happy to save up if they needed to. I just think you'd be able to find money like that regardless of who you are. I'm not going to go, right, it's 150 quid, something like that. That's insane. But I think it would separate those who were mucking about. Well, ultimately, dabbling in those who are committed. If you're committed and you're like, I can go and actually spend time with 3 incredible people, because it is all about who you surround yourself with, I think it's well worth a little bit more. But it's all going to be dictated to on what these people are going to want, basically, particularly if they're not Manchester based, because they would have to then have travel, maybe overnight accommodation. That'll factor into some stuff as well. Dawn says, missed most of tonight. Signal was poor, but we'll catch up. No problem, Dawn. Get a better signal and then catch up. No problem. But can you ever get any motivational piece on? It depends, like who you mean, what you want, who you thinking. I wouldn't be able to get them in person because most people who do this kind of stuff in the industry are American, Fanny. So I can't pay for airfare for stuff. We could definitely do that on thingy online though, as a live event online or a bit of a summit or that kind of thing. We could have a look at. I would check it out definitely. And what you're saying, Andy, might encourage more premium. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is just something I opened. I'm going to do some events at the end of this month and throughout December that are just exclusively for premium members of Acts on This, because that's 10 quid a month. No one's got any excuse for that. It's £2.50 a week. If you can't find that, I would not focus on your acting career right now. I'd focus on something that would give you a bit more sustainable income and then come back to it. Can you get Tony Robbins? Gary V wants $100,000 for an hour of his time as a speaker. Fanny, I don't have that right now. Tony Robbins, again, man, their schedules are insane. They are not going to do something. Yeah, that's just how much money is in public speaking, Fanny. Seriously, that's not bullshit, guys. In the public speaking circuit, people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, honest to God, can demand $100,000 upwards for a 45-minute speech because of their influence. If I decided I was going to do, an event, and I wanted to, I went, okay, we're going to do a big event in London. It's for 600 people, and then I can charge the 600 people £400 for a 2-day event, which is what happens in this world. Particularly in online business. Then what I can do, I can then go to Gary Vee, still pay him $100,000 and still make a shitload of profit because I'm charging, £400-500 a ticket and I'm selling it out to 600 people. So you can, that's how you can make some serious cash and still have the big names. But yeah, to do a live broadcast with me, I could certainly ask. I remember when I first discovered Tony Robbins, I absolutely reached out to his company and was like, oh my God, Tony, like your stuff's so amazing. We should definitely do something. And that was before I realized he was a billionaire. And the guy was doing sold out arenas every week throughout the year all across the world, and his Platinum Mastermind group was $65,000 to join. I was like, you're probably a bit big for me right now, Tony, but I'll sort that out. Lewis House or someone like that. So Lewis, who's done this. So I've supported Lewis quite a bit. Lewis is somebody potentially we could look at getting on at some point. Definitely. I think he owes me a 30-minute live broadcast at some point. I think there'd be potential for that, Fanny, definitely. But if anyone's got any other suggestions for guests for Ats on This or books you want to read on the book club, please let me know. Send them over at Ats on This TV, at Ross A. Grant on Twitter, same on Instagram, and I'll look at that as well. Kim said I would totally come down for something like that for one of those events. Awesome, nice one, Kim. Would be good to see you there. Definitely. But yeah. That's kind of it for the book club, guys. Hope you've enjoyed that. It's been useful. It's just gone 10 o'clock. We will wrap it up. I'm going to be back on Monday with a brand new episode of my vlog, Watch Ross. Remember, I'll put this back up on the screen again. I want to pay your 2018 Spotlight subscription if you're an actor. All you've got to do is go to YouTube, type in hashtag, and then Watch Ross, all one word. Subscribe to the channel that you will find with my episodes on right now. There's 7 episodes up there so far. And every comment you leave then once you've subscribed will be one entry into a prize draw that I will do at the end of this year. I'm going to pay for one person's Spotlight subscription, costs about 150 quid. If you're an actor, if you're not an actor, I'm going to get you a really cool gadget up to about that price. So it could be like an Amazon Echo 2nd edition thing or a Google Home device or something like that. So there's all kinds of goodies up for grabs whether you're an actor or not. So do just search for Watch Ross with the hashtag Watch Ross on YouTube. I will eventually be able to get the YouTube address, youtube.com/Watch Ross, but I can't yet because the channel's not 30 days old. So it'll be a bit easier to find next time. But for now, just search for the hashtag Watch Ross on YouTube and you will find it. Kim says, did we not do a live chat with Lewis a year ago? No, we didn't. We did a live chat with Luis Diaz a year ago, Kim, who was another American high-performance coach, but a high-performance physicality coach. He was an exclusive guest for Bulletproof Actor, who everyone on here who's doing the Bulletproof Actor course at the moment, who basically enrolled earlier this year, we still have that call to do before the end of this year. So you will get an invitation to that very soon in your email as well. And then I will be launching Bulletproof Actor again in January for the next intake. So if you want to get your mental game right, you want to get your head right, and you want to really kind of bulletproof your mindset for the acting industry and just for life in general, go to bulletproofactor.com, get on the waiting list. That will be opening for enrollment again in January. So Fanny, yeah, so you will be part of that call that's going on at the moment. Luis Diaz is a high-performance physicality coach from Palm Beach in Florida. Awesome friend of mine, great guy. Met out in LA, just awesome, legit, genuine guy who helps people get in shape like the right way. He's going to be doing a live call with all Bulletproof Actor current students of the last intake very soon. But by the end of this year, we'll definitely arrange that. Hopefully by the end of November. But look, keep an eye on your inbox and the Facebook group. I will post that there as well. Awesome, guys. I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for spending this time here. Hope that's been useful. Grab Lewis Howe's book. I think it's awesome. I think it's really good. A lot of food for thought there. Check out the vlog on YouTube. Watch all the current episodes. Episode 8 that comes out on Monday is just so funny. And I will be back on Monday night at 9 p.m. for a motivation and mind hack session. As of yet, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about, but you will want to be there or be square. I don't even know what that means. What does it mean, be there or be square? I don't know. But you'll probably be square if you're not there anyway. Right, going. Love you all. Thanks so much for watching me. And huge shout out to everyone listening on the audio experience. I'll catch you very soon. Bye for now. Oh, no. No. I put on the wrong thing here. I should have done this. Bye for now.